Hi, I'm Beth Cohen, and this is my favorite Jewish geography story. On December 11th, 2008, I was having a spectacularly bad day. I worked at a Jewish high school in Los Angeles, and I sat in a large room with 6 other women, and it was hard to get anything done. And on that day, I couldn't focus on anything because I was in a bad mood. And then Justin from security called to say Paul Cohen was at the gate, and should he let him in? Now, I worked on a closed campus, which meant you couldn't come onto the property unless you had a scheduled appointment. But finally, someone decided we should buzz him up because Cohen is a pretty typical last name. It's actually my maiden name. And chances are he was a prospective parent who just wanted an application for his kid, so why not? Well, it turns out Paul Cohen was a copier salesman, and he was there to try to sell us a copier. So we were all pretty annoyed, but the office manager greeted him and they started chatting loudly. And I tried to get back to work, and I'm thinking, wow, he is a good salesman. I bet this is the kind of salesman my dad was, because my dad had been a salesman before he died 3 years ago that week. And then I got angry because Paul Cohen, copier salesman, was alive, and my dad, former salesman, was dead. And then I was angry that these two people were talking so loudly that I couldn't get my job done. And then I hear Paul Cohen, copier salesman, say, well, before my family came to Ellis Island, I was a gratuitous. And my blood went hot and then cold, and I got a little woozy, and I jumped out of my seat and I flung myself over to where they were talking. And I said, I'm sorry, what did you say your name was? And he said, Paul Cohen, copier salesman. And I said, no. Before that, on Ellis Island. And he said, gratuitous. And I said, I'm a Cohen who used to be a gratuitous. And I don't know if you've ever had the experience of feeling something so intensely that it stops you in your tracks, but not being able to identify what that feeling actually is. But that's what was happening to me. And then when I said those words, I'm a Cohen who used to be a gratuitous, this man I had never met before looked back at me, and the look on his face was exactly what I was feeling, even though I didn't know what I was feeling. Was it confusion, disbelief, astonishment? So finally I said, where are you from? And he said, I'm from here, Los Angeles, but my father's from Pittsburgh. And I said, I'm from Pittsburgh. Who's your father? And he sort of stumbled backwards and sat down in a nearby chair. And he said, Elliot. And I said, I know Elliot. I'm Laz's granddaughter. And this man, Paul Cohen, copier salesman, who never should have been on campus in the first place and never should have had a conversation long enough to mention that his family's name was gratuitous, was my father's first cousin. His father, Elliot, and my dad's father, Laz, were brothers. And needless to say, he and his family had us over for brunch later that month, and I've developed great relationships with his daughters, who show me baby pictures of themselves that look just like me.